The day you stop romanticizing people. There is a profound story about Neville Goddard, one that many people tend to misinterpret or overlook the deeper meaning of. A woman once came to him, her spirit completely shattered and broken by a profound sense of betrayal. She found herself caught in a loop, repeating the same poignant sentence over and over. "I don't understand how they could do this to me." Her anguish wasn't simply the pain of being lied to, it was far more existential. She was weeping, not because someone had deceived her, but because the idealized person she had constructed in her mind, the version of them she had so deeply cherished, never actually existed in the first place. Jung, with his piercing insight, noticed something truly disturbing in her suffering. The immense pain she experienced wasn't stemming directly from the objective reality of the situation itself. Instead, her agony was rooted in the sudden, violent collapse of a fantasy, an elaborate mental construct. This is because, deep within its workings, the human mind possesses a dangerous inclination. When confronted with individuals it admires, loves, fears, or desires, it instinctively begins to fill in the missing parts, creating a complete, often flawless picture. You might encounter someone who exudes confidence and, almost unconsciously, your mind assumes they must also be loyal and trustworthy. You meet an individual who is physically attractive, and your immediate assumption is that they are inherently kind and benevolent. You have one deeply meaningful conversation with someone who seems to understand you emotionally, and suddenly you start meticulously building an entire, intricate personality around them, a personality that was never genuinely present or real. The truth is, most people are not engaging in relationships with others as they truly are. Instead, they are locked in relationships with their own sophisticated projections, their internal narratives, and the idealized versions they've created. And inevitably, as time progresses, reality asserts itself like a sharp, cold blade. It doesn't announce its arrival with loud pronouncements or dramatic clashes. Rather, it often surfaces quietly, subtly, almost imperceptibly. It manifests in the increasingly delayed replies to your messages, in casual disrespect disguised as harmless jokes, in a sudden, inexplicable distance that appears once you cease to be perceived as useful, or in that peculiar, uncomfortable sensation that someone only truly values you when you are emotionally accessible and available to them, ready to cater to their needs. You have likely experienced this unsettling feeling before, even if you never fully acknowledged or articulated it. That poignant moment when you slowly, painfully realize that the idealized version of someone existing vibrantly inside your head feels so much warmer, so much more perfect than the actual flawed person standing right in front of you. This profound realization has the power to fundamentally change you, because once you truly see it, once that veil is lifted, you begin to notice with alarming frequency how often people perform carefully curated versions of themselves, subtly adapting their persona depending on who they are interacting with. The friend who appears fiercely loyal and unwavering when they are with you can transform into a remarkably different person the moment they enter another room or another social circle. The individual who was outwardly kind and gentle suddenly turns cold, calculating, or even cruel once they acquire a modicum of social power or influence. The person who vehemently claimed to value honesty above all else instantly becomes defensive and evasive the very moment you dare to speak honestly about something they find uncomfortable. And the most unsettling aspect of all this is that most people are not consciously, deliberately pretending. They genuinely, wholeheartedly believe they are the very mask they perform, the role they inhabit. Carl Jung famously theorized that every human being carries within them a shadow, a hidden, unacknowledged part of themselves that they refuse to confront or integrate. And the more fervently someone avoids confronting and understanding that shadow, the more artificial, brittle, and ultimately unfulfilling their outward personality becomes. This is precisely why some individuals can feel strangely empty, lacking depth or genuine substance, once you have known them for a sufficient period of time. Because eventually, the elaborate performance they maintain begins to glitch. The carefully constructed mask slips, even if only for a fleeting second, and for that brief moment, you catch a glimpse of the raw insecurity festering underneath the charm, the insidious envy hidden beneath their outward support, or the controlling desire lurking beneath their displays of affection. People, it turns out, don't truly fear being seen. What they genuinely fear is being seen completely, in all their messy, contradictory complexity. And perhaps that is precisely why the moment you finally stop romanticizing people, stop projecting your ideals onto them, feels so profoundly unsettling and disorienting. It's because you suddenly realize just how much of your past suffering, your disappointments and heartaches, originated from loving and clinging to illusions. Illusions that your own mind painstakingly created for others, rather than engaging with their true selves. After this powerful realization dawns upon you, something subtle yet fundamental begins to shift deep within your own being. You stop listening exclusively to the mere words people utter. You start developing a keen ability to observe and study patterns in their behavior. And these patterns, over time, reveal things that people might spend their entire lives desperately trying to conceal. You begin to notice, for instance, how some individuals only become genuinely affectionate and warm when they sense you pulling away, when they fear losing you. You observe how respect, seemingly absent before, suddenly appears after you establish a clear distance or boundary. You see how attention and validation miraculously increase the moment you stop actively chasing after it. It becomes utterly impossible not to see these underlying dynamics. Human behavior, you realize, is often deeply reactive, a response to perceived scarcity or threat, rather than an expression of genuine, stable feeling. Most people, paradoxically, do not truly value what is consistently present and readily available to them. They tend to value what feels difficult to secure, what requires effort or seems just out of reach. That is why genuine kindness, especially kindness without firm boundaries, is so often ignored, taken for granted, and undervalued until it finally disappears. Kindness without boundaries quietly, almost inadvertently, teaches others precisely how to exploit or use you. And the truly frightening part is how early this kind of conditioning, this unconscious understanding of power dynamics, begins to shape us. In school, you probably witnessed it countless times without fully comprehending its implications. The quietest, most agreeable student often became the target of bullying or disrespect, simply because they tolerated it, inadvertently sending a signal of vulnerability. Conversely, the overtly confident, even arrogant person received admiration and social rewards despite treating others poorly, signaling power and dominance. The one who constantly sacrificed their own needs for everyone else slowly became invisible, their contributions overlooked and unappreciated. It's as if human beings, almost unconsciously, organize themselves around perceived power and status long before any sense of morality, empathy, or fairness fully enters the picture. Carl Jung also believed that what people vehemently reject or refuse to acknowledge within themselves often gets projected onto others. And once you truly grasp the concept of psychological projection, the complexities of social life can become psychologically disturbing in their transparency. The deeply insecure person often vocally accuses others of constantly seeking attention or validation. The dishonest individual becomes almost obsessively preoccupied with loyalty and fidelity in others. Those who are fundamentally controlling frequently portray themselves as benevolent protectors, guardians of order or safety. The people most terrified of abandonment are often the very ones who end up emotionally suffocating those closest to them, inadvertently driving them away. Everyone, it turns out, eventually reveals their true self, not through a dramatic confession or a grand declaration, but through the consistent repetition of their behaviors and patterns over time. That is why a heightened awareness, once cultivated, changes your relationships forever. You stop judging isolated incidents or fleeting moments and begin observing consistent behavior over extended periods. And it is this consistency that unflinchingly exposes reality. The friend who only ever contacts you during their own emotional crises, the person who subtly competes with you in every single conversation, unable to genuinely celebrate your successes. The relationship where any vulnerability you dared to show somehow always transforms into ammunition later, used against you. At first, these raw realizations can be incredibly painful and jarring, because your mind, out of habit and investment, desperately wants to defend these people, especially those into whom you have poured significant emotional energy and affection. So you rationalize everything away. They're just incredibly stressed right now, you tell yourself. Oh, they didn't really mean it that way, you might think. That's just how they are. It's part of their charm, you might conclude, trying to soften the blow. But eventually, a darker, more unsettling thought begins to permeate your mind. A question that feels like a cold dread. What if I've been intentionally translating disrespect into mere misunderstanding, simply because I was terrified of losing these people, of being alone? That question, once genuinely asked and deeply considered, changes everything. Because many relationships, you realize, survive not through genuine love and connection, but through an elaborate, fragile denial. Denial, you see, often keeps dysfunctional families seemingly functioning. Denial sustains toxic friendships for years, despite the emotional toll. Denial keeps people emotionally tethered to individuals who have long since stopped truly valuing them, if they ever did. Most relationships, therefore, don't truly end when respect finally disappears. They end, much more profoundly, when awareness appears, shattering the comfortable illusion. And this newfound awareness creates distance, not always physically, but most certainly psychologically. You begin to feel a strange sense of detachment in conversations that once held profound meaning and emotional weight for you. Certain compliments start to sound hollow, transactional, rather than genuine expressions of appreciation. Certain acts of affection, once cherished, begin to feel strategic, calculated, rather than sincere. You stop being easily hypnotized by superficial charm, and once that happens, the underlying social dynamics become glaringly impossible to ignore. You observe how groups subtly but effectively punish authenticity, how people become visibly uncomfortable when someone refuses to perform the expected social role. You see how genuine honesty threatens entire social structures meticulously built on polite deception. Because most social systems are not, in fact, built on truth. They are built on a mutual unspoken agreement, an agreement to collectively avoid acknowledging and articulating what everyone already silently sees and understands. And the person who dares to break that illusion first, the one who calls out the elephant in the room, usually becomes the designated problem, the outcast. That is the strange, often isolating punishment that comes with seeing reality with unclouded clarity. You become significantly harder to manipulate, yes, but you also become harder to genuinely belong anywhere. For your presence itself challenges the comfortable lies. Because once you stop romanticizing people, you truly begin to realize how much of social life, how many interactions, fundamentally depend on a continuous performance. Watch closely how people's demeanor and behavior shift dramatically, depending on their perceived status relative to others. The deeply insecure person becomes overly agreeable, almost obsequious when around figures of authority. The outwardly confident individual suddenly becomes dismissive and condescending when confronted with perceived weakness or vulnerability in others. Even morality itself shifts and contorts, depending on the potential social reward or punishment. Someone will publicly condemn betrayal with righteous indignation, while simultaneously secretly betraying people in their private life. Someone will passionately preach about honesty and integrity, all while meticulously constructing an artificial image designed to carefully control every aspect of public perception. And most disturbing of all, many people engaged in these behaviors don't even realize they are doing it. They are utterly convinced of their own righteousness. Carl Jung understood something brutally honest about human nature. The ego will protect its self-image at almost any cost. People desperately want to believe they are fundamentally good, virtuous individuals. So, instead of courageously confronting their inner darkness, their flaws and contradictions, they construct elaborate explanations, justifications, and narratives to rationalize it away. Cruelty in this distorted framework becomes just being honest. Manipulation is reframed as love or care. Control is disguised as protection. Jealousy is rationalized as concern. The human mind is terrifyingly skilled at disguising its true, often ignoble motives, especially from itself. That is precisely why some of the most dangerous people in the world are not the openly malicious ones who revel in their wickedness. No, the most dangerous are the ones who are completely, utterly convinced of their own innocence, their own pure intentions, even as they inflict harm. And if you have lived long enough, you have probably encountered this type of person before. The friend who constantly tears you down for your own good, claiming it's tough love. The partner who subtly makes you feel overwhelmingly guilty for needing personal space or time apart. The individual who deliberately creates emotional chaos, then acts genuinely wounded and victimized when you inevitably react to it. They subtly drain your energy, your spirit, while meticulously maintaining the impeccable image of being the long-suffering victim. Because victimhood itself, you realize, can become a powerful, manipulative tool. The moment you truly understand this dynamic, your entire perception of human interaction fundamentally changes, irrevocably. You stop focusing solely on the words people speak, which can so easily mislead. You start asking a far more revealing question. What emotional outcome does this person want from me in this interaction? That single question, when applied consistently, reveals almost everything you need to know. Some people primarily seek admiration and validation. Some desire obedience and control. Some crave emotional dependence, needing others to lean heavily on them. Some simply want someone beneath them, someone they can subtly diminish so they can temporarily escape their own gnawing feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. People, you come to understand, rarely seek connection as purely and altruistically as they claim. More often than not, they seek regulation, a way to soothe the profound emptiness or discomfort they are unwilling or unable to face alone. And this is where the grand illusion of romance itself begins to collapse as well. Because many relationships, you painfully realize, are not built on unconditional love or genuine connection. They are instead built upon intricate, often unconscious, psychological contracts. I will make you feel incredibly valuable if you, in turn, make me feel wanted and desired. I will be your savior and emotional rescuer if you promise to never abandon me. I will admire you endlessly if you protect me from my deepest fear of loneliness. This is precisely why people can change so suddenly, so dramatically, once the underlying emotional transaction inherent in the contract stops benefiting them. It's not because they magically transformed overnight into a different person. It's because the mask they wore was attached to a specific condition, an implicit agreement, and those conditions eventually reveal their true, transactional nature. You can observe this most clearly after significant life events, success, failure, or personal transformation. Become successful, and previously hidden envy or resentment may suddenly surface from those closest to you. Become vulnerable, and hidden disrespect, previously masked, will inevitably come to the surface. Set clear, healthy boundaries, and hidden entitlement from others will starkly reveal itself. Nothing, it seems, exposes human nature faster or more thoroughly than changing the fundamental role people have assigned to you. The once quiet, agreeable person finds their voice and becomes confidently assertive. The person who always said yes starts saying no. The insecure individual begins their journey of healing and self-acceptance. Suddenly, the very people who claim to love them begin to feel uncomfortable, even threatened. Why? Because some relationships were unconsciously built around your weakness, around your willingness to be controlled, or your need for external validation. People don't always genuinely love who you are becoming. Sometimes, tragically, they love who you used to be, when you were easier to control, easier to predict, more reliant on them. And that realization, while initially painful, doesn't make you hate humanity. It simply removes the romanticized fantasy, replacing it with a clearer, albeit starker, reality. Once that fantasy disappears, loneliness itself starts to feel different. Not heavier, not more burdensome, but sharper, more acutely felt. You begin to realize with a newfound clarity that being surrounded by people and being truly understood are two entirely distinct experiences. Some of the loneliest people you will ever encounter have active social lives, bustling phones, crowded rooms, numerous relationships, and daily conversations. Yet, nobody around them truly sees them beyond their utility, their superficial identity, or the expectations placed upon them. And perhaps you have felt this before, without knowing how to adequately describe it. That strange, profound exhaustion that washes over you after prolonged socializing. The feeling that you were physically present, yes, but psychologically, you spent hours performing a carefully crafted version of yourself that kept everyone else comfortable, while the authentic you remained hidden and unexpressed beneath the surface. Carl Jung famously believed that the greatest burden the child must bear is the unlived life of the parents. But the very same pattern, you discover, continues to repeat itself everywhere in adulthood as well, shaping us profoundly. Society rewards masks from an early age. Be agreeable, be attractive, be successful, be useful, be emotionally digestible. Slowly, subtly, people stop asking themselves who they truly are and begin asking a far more dangerous question. What version of me will get accepted the fastest, the most easily? And once a person builds their entire identity around this external acceptance, authenticity, raw and unvarnished, starts to feel inherently threatening, a risk too great to take. That's why genuinely self-aware people, those who have done the difficult work of confronting themselves, often make others profoundly uncomfortable without even trying. Their very presence exposes the uncomfortable truth of performance and pretense in others. A person who no longer desperately seeks validation becomes incredibly difficult to control or manipulate. A person who is genuinely comfortable with solitude becomes remarkably difficult to coerce or intimidate. A person who clearly sees through emotional games and manipulations simply stops feeding them, refusing to participate. And people notice this immediately, instinctively, even if nobody ever articulates it out loud. There's a compelling reason why some individuals lose friends or find their social circles shrinking after they become more confident, more disciplined, or more emotionally independent. Personal growth, especially profound growth, inevitably changes social balance and power dynamics. The insecure friend who relied on your own self-doubt suddenly feels inferior, threatened by your rising confidence. The controlling partner loses their influence and leverage over you. The attention seeker no longer receives the constant reassurance and validation they once demanded. And beneath all of this lies a disturbing, inconvenient truth that most people actively avoid confronting. Many relationships are held together less by genuine selfless love and more by unconscious mutual dependency. One person unconsciously needs constant admiration and validation, while the other needs a sense of purpose or meaning derived from providing it. One needs emotional rescue and support, while the other needs to feel profoundly needed and essential. This fragile dynamic functions sometimes for years until one person evolves, grows, or changes. Then, suddenly, the relationship begins cracking in unexpected places, because awareness, once it dawns, inexorably destroys these unconscious psychological contracts. This is precisely why healing and self-growth can feel profoundly socially dangerous. When you finally stop tolerating disrespect, manipulative people will often label you as selfish or cold. When you stop over-explaining yourself and your decisions, insecure people will call you distant or unreachable. When you stop chasing external approval and validation, some people will lose interest in you entirely. This doesn't happen because you became a worse person. It happens because your fundamental role in their life and in the unspoken contract changed. And most human relationships, you realize, are far more role-based than people are willing to admit. The funny friend, the strong one, the listener, the helper. The moment you stop performing your assigned, expected role, people often react as if you have violated an invisible agreement, a sacred social contract. Because in many cases, from their perspective, you absolutely did. The terrifying realization is that very few people genuinely desire or can handle complete authenticity from others. Complete, unvarnished authenticity profoundly disrupts social comfort, shattering the delicate illusions everyone relies on. Imagine if everyone openly admitted their deepest jealousies, their gnawing insecurities, their desperate need for validation, their hidden resentments, their paralyzing fear of abandonment, their overwhelming desire for control. Most relationships, you understand, would instantly collapse under the sheer weight of such brutal honesty. So, society, in its infinite complexity, survives through carefully managed partial truths, meticulously maintained masks, polite social performances, and a mutual unspoken agreement to avoid deep confrontation. And the person who begins to see this dynamic clearly often undergoes a strange, often lonely psychological shift. They stop feeling shocked or personally wounded by human behavior because they finally understand its underlying mechanics, its predictable patterns. And understanding human nature too deeply, you discover, can create a dangerous temptation: detachment. Not a peaceful, serene detachment, but a cold, calculating detachment. The kind where you begin instinctively expecting manipulation before kindness, self-interest before loyalty, and performance before genuine sincerity. At first, this feels intelligent, protective, a sign of newfound wisdom. You tell yourself that you have finally woken up, that you now see people for what they truly are. But this, you realize, is precisely where many people completely misunderstand Jung's core message. Because seeing the darkness, the flaws, and the unconscious motivations in others is only half of the journey. The real, often terrifying horror begins when you courageously recognize that same darkness, those same flaws, and those same unconscious motivations stirring powerfully within yourself. That pivotal moment usually arrives quietly, subtly. You might catch yourself secretly enjoying someone else's failure, feeling a perverse sense of validation when another person becomes insecure around you. You might find yourself consciously withholding affection or communication to regain a sense of control, performing an outward show of confidence while desperately hiding a gnawing fear, or pretending not to care because caring feels too dangerous, too vulnerable. And suddenly, tragically, the carefully constructed image of yourself as different, as better, as above it all, starts to collapse as well. That, you realize, is the very shadow Jung warned about. Not inherently evil, but simply hidden humanity, the parts of yourself you consciously or unconsciously separated from your core identity because they felt unacceptable, shameful, or too vulnerable to acknowledge. Jealousy, neediness, ego, manipulative tendencies, cruel fantasies, the primal desire to dominate, the yearning to be worshipped, the desperate wish to be chosen over others. These are all parts of the human shadow. Most people, you understand, spend their entire lives pretending these impulses simply don't exist within them. But repression, you learn, does not destroy darkness, it merely buries it alive. And things that are buried alive continue to exert a powerful, often unconscious influence on behavior from underneath the surface. That is precisely why the people who appear the most morally superior, the most impeccably virtuous, are sometimes the most psychologically dangerous. Their shadow, their unacknowledged darkness, becomes so thoroughly denied that it leaks out unconsciously through passive aggression, subtle emotional control, harsh judgment of others, or festering hidden resentment. The human mind, you conclude, is truly strange in its complexities. The more innocent someone desperately needs to appear to the world, the more carefully and critically you should observe them. Because true self-awareness, authentic confrontation of one's own shadow, usually cultivates a deep sense of humility, not an illusion of perfection. A person who has genuinely confronted their shadow understands, with a profound clarity, what they are truly capable of under the right or wrong conditions. They understand that human morality is often far more fragile and situational than society is willing to admit. Place enough fear, humiliation, power, loneliness, or desire into a human being, and behaviors can change with terrifying speed. History, after all, has proven this repeatedly. So-called civilized people become cruel faster than they could ever imagine. Loyal people betray, honest people lie, kind people dehumanize others when social approval or reward incentivizes it. Most individuals, you realize, are not stable, unchanging identities. They are, in essence, adaptable psychological conditions, highly responsive to their internal and external environments. And once you truly realize this, your entire perception of good and evil becomes far less simplistic, less black and white. You stop dividing humanity neatly into heroes and monsters, saints and sinners. Instead, you begin seeing wounded egos, unconscious fears, hidden desires, powerful survival instincts, and unresolved shame. You begin seeing people as psychologically fragmented, complex beings, and that, crucially, includes yourself. That realization is profoundly uncomfortable because it utterly destroys your moral fantasies. The fantasy that you would always do the right thing, no matter the circumstances. The fantasy that love automatically purifies people, making them inherently good. The fantasy that mere awareness alone makes someone immune to their own inner darkness or manipulative tendencies. It doesn't. Awareness simply gives you a choice. Most people are tragically controlled by deeply ingrained patterns they never bother to examine, to bring to light. But the person who courageously confronts their shadow begins noticing those patterns in real time. The urge to manipulate, the compelling urge to seek validation, the impulse to punish rejection, the instinct to maintain control through silence, guilt, or withdrawal. And for the first time, they understand something truly terrifying. Human beings are far less rational than they desperately pretend to be. Most behavior, you conclude, is ultimately emotional survival wearing intellectual clothing, a rationalized facade. After that profound realization, the world, strangely, starts feeling quieter. Not necessarily calmer or more peaceful, just quieter. The internal noise of judgment, expectation, and disappointment begins to recede. You stop expecting people to miraculously become the idealized versions they promised they would be. You stop being surprised when admiration unexpectedly turns into bitter envy, when loyalty bends and breaks under sufficient pressure, when affection mysteriously disappears the very moment convenience or utility vanishes. And, strangely enough, this transformation begins to make you more observant, more analytical, and less purely emotional in your reactions. You notice with newfound clarity how desperately people strive to escape themselves. Some do it through a dizzying succession of relationships, some through the relentless pursuit of status, some through constant noise and distraction, seeking attention, abusing substances, accumulating achievements, immersing themselves in social media, engaging in endless conversations, or constantly seeking new forms of stimulation. Anything, you realize, to avoid sitting alone long enough to clearly hear their own mind, their own inner turmoil. Because silence, you understand, forces confrontation, and confrontation, especially of one's true self, is terrifying. Particularly when a person has meticulously built their entire identity around external validation and approval. Carl Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Most people, you realize, never fully grasp how much of their personality, their decisions, and their life trajectory is automated, running on unconscious programming. They believe they fell in love, but often they were merely repeating familiar childhood attachment patterns, seeking out what felt familiar, even if unhealthy. They lament having bad luck with people, but unconsciously they keep choosing familiar emotional dynamics, perpetuating the same cycles. They believe everyone eventually betrays them, yet they ignore every glaring warning sign along the way, because the comfort of a fantasy feels safer, more appealing, than the harsh truth of reality. Human beings, you learn, don't just seek happiness, they fundamentally seek familiarity, even when that familiarity consistently hurts them. That is precisely why some individuals repeatedly return to toxic relationships, manipulative friendships, and emotionally unavailable partners. The pain paradoxically feels familiar, and familiarity, even painful familiarity, creates a strange, unsettling psychological comfort. This is also why people resist change so violently, so vehemently. Change, you realize, fundamentally threatens identity. If someone has spent years being the designated victim, Healing feels like losing their very self, like an existential threat. If someone meticulously built their self-worth around being constantly needed by others, setting healthy boundaries feels terrifyingly isolating. If someone primarily survives through exerting control over their environment and others, vulnerability feels utterly unbearable, a profound loss of power. Most people, you understand, are not truly protecting a grand truth. They are protecting their meticulously constructed identity structures, their sense of self. And once you truly grasp this, you stop taking certain behaviors so personally. The disrespect, the projections, the subtle manipulation, the bewildering emotional inconsistency. Much of it, you realize, was never truly about you. You simply inadvertently triggered unresolved parts of them that they were desperately trying not to face within themselves. Sometimes your newfound confidence unconsciously reminds someone of their own gnawing insecurity. Sometimes your growing independence poses a direct threat to someone else's need for control. Sometimes your personal growth starkly exposes another person's stagnation, their unwillingness to evolve. And instead of courageously confronting themselves, they punish you psychologically. Not always openly or aggressively, but sometimes through subtle withdrawal, passive aggression, dismissive humor, withheld support, palpable energy shifts, or tiny emotional punishments that are almost impossible to logically explain to others. But you feel them, acutely, especially once your perception sharpens, because awareness changes the way human interaction feels inside your very body. You start sensing tension lurking underneath polite smiles and agreeable words, competition seething underneath seemingly genuine praise, and deep resentment brewing underneath superficial friendliness. The social mask, once opaque, becomes transparent, almost translucent, and that transparency, you recognize, can become profoundly isolating if you are not careful. Because eventually, a dangerous existential thought appears. If everyone is wearing masks, if everyone is performing, is genuine connection, true intimacy, even truly possible? Is it even real? That question, heavy and unsettling, sits in the mind like a slow-acting poison. Some people, at this stage, become deeply cynical, cold, emotionally unreachable. They convince themselves that trust is a weakness and that detachment is the ultimate form of intelligence. But Jung, you remember, believed something far deeper and more nuanced. The ultimate goal, he argued, was never to become naive and gullible, nor to become cynical and hardened. It was to become conscious, to see human nature clearly, in all its light and shadow, without losing your own inherent humanity in the process. And that delicate balance, you realize, is far rarer and more challenging to achieve than most people imagine, because once you truly see reality, stripped of its comforting illusions, you can never fully return to those illusions again. You begin to understand, with a clarity that both liberates and saddens, why some conversations suddenly feel utterly empty and superficial, why certain smiles feel rehearsed, devoid of genuine warmth, why some people only love the parts of you that directly benefit them, that serve their own needs, and why, deep down, almost everyone is silently fighting a private, internal psychological war that they rarely, if ever, admit out loud. But perhaps the darkest yet most liberating realization of all is this: the masks themselves were never truly the problem. The core problem was believing they were permanent, believing they were the complete, unchanging person. Human beings, you recognize, are inherently conflicted, capable of profound love and insidious manipulation, unwavering loyalty and cruel betrayal, deep compassion and shocking cruelty, sometimes all within the same fleeting hour. And perhaps true maturity, genuine wisdom, begins the moment you stop searching desperately for perfect people and start seeing people as they truly are: fragmented, wounded, performing roles, afraid, and crucially, that includes yourself. Because the day you finally stop romanticizing people is also the day you stop needing them to complete the cherished fantasy inside your own mind. You stop begging reality to become softer, kinder, or more palatable than it truly is. And strangely, wonderfully, That's when your vision becomes clear for the very first time. Not optimistically naive, not pessimistically despairing, just clear, unclouded. And that clarity profoundly changes the way you navigate the world. You become slower to trust, yes, but far deeper and more committed when you finally do. You become harder to manipulate, but also more brutally honest with yourself. Less addicted to external attention, less hypnotized by superficial charm, less willing to abandon your own powerful intuition just to keep someone, anyone, close. Because now you understand something most people spend their entire lives desperately avoiding. The greatest danger was never that other people could deceive you. It was that your own powerful loneliness, your deepest desires, your inherent hopes, and your unconscious projections could deceive you first, and far more effectively. And once you truly understand that fundamental truth, human nature, in all its complex glory and dark corners, stops feeling shocking or bewildering. It simply feels undeniably human. If this understanding has made you realize something uncomfortable about people or about yourself, then perhaps you are truly becoming aware.